An extraordinary and dangerous weather pattern is unfolding across the United States, and it is honestly one of the most dramatic setups we have seen in recent memory. A record-shattering heat wave is currently gripping much of the country, while a significant storm system is organizing and preparing to sweep through the Midwest and East Coast. This is a rapidly evolving situation, and a USA Storm Center is tracking every development closely. A powerful high-pressure ridge has locked itself over the desert southwest, pushing the jet stream unusually far north. This type of atmospheric setup is typically associated with late spring or early summer conditions, not the middle of March. Yet here we are, watching temperatures climb into the 90s and even 100s across large portions of the central and southern United States, near Phoenix, Arizona, and stretching west into Southern California near the Mecca area. Temperatures are approaching 110 degrees. That is not just a daily record, that is approaching the all-time highest March temperature ever recorded anywhere in the continental United States. These are numbers that belong in July, not in the third week of March. The heat is not limited to the desert southwest. Across the Great Plains and into the Midwest, temperatures are surging well above normal. Southern Minnesota is seeing highs in the 80s. Areas near the Nebraska and South Dakota border are pushing into the 90s. The southern plains are locked under a blanket of 90s and 100s, with little relief in sight for the immediate short term. In total, USA Storm Center is tracking nearly 100 temperature records that have already been tied or broken today alone. Some locations are not just breaking their previous records, they are exceeding them by 10 to 15 degrees. When records fall by that kind of margin, it signals just how exceptional and historically significant this heat event truly is. Overnight temperatures are also expected to stay remarkably warm. Tomorrow morning, areas near Wichita Falls, Texas, and Oklahoma City could see low temperatures only dipping into the 70s. Cities like St. Louis and Chicago may wake up to readings in the 60s. Even Ohio is expected to stay in the 50s through the overnight hours. These warm overnight temperatures are critical because they will help fuel the energy available for severe weather development as Sunday progresses. By the time we combine today and tomorrow, the total record count could reach between 150 and 200 broken or tied temperature records across the Great Plains, Midwest, Southwest, and even portions of the Mid-Atlantic and West Coast. This is a genuinely historic heat event by any measure. However, this heat wave does not come without consequences, and those consequences arrive quickly. A strong cold front is beginning to push out of Canada and will sweep through the Central Plains, the Midwest, and the Ohio Valley. As this front clashes with the extreme warmth and moisture already in place, the ingredients for significant severe weather are coming together rapidly. For today, a marginal risk of severe weather exists across the Appalachian region, including portions of South Carolina and eastern Tennessee. Isolated damaging wind gusts are the primary concern in this zone, and while the threat is not widespread, those in the risk area should remain weather aware throughout the afternoon and evening hours. The far more serious concern arrives on Sunday. A substantial area across the Midwest and Mid-Atlantic faces an elevated risk of severe weather, and USA Storm Center is watching this setup very carefully. The main threats will be damaging winds and very large hail, though an isolated tornado or two cannot be ruled out across portions of this region. There are two scenarios currently being modeled for Sunday's event. The first scenario favors a fast-moving line of storms that would sweep through the Ohio Valley and into Pennsylvania, producing widespread damaging winds and possibly a few embedded tornadoes within that line. The second scenario involves a slower storm evolution with more discrete, individual supercell thunderstorms developing ahead of the main line. This second scenario would favor larger hail and a higher tornado threat, particularly across Maryland, Delaware, and surrounding areas. At this time, the more likely outcome leans toward the first scenario, a powerful squall line with strong, damaging winds as the headline threat. Regardless of which scenario plays out, residents from Illinois through the Mid-Atlantic should be prepared well before Sunday afternoon. Storms are expected to fire after midday and continue through the evening hours, with the severe weather risk diminishing after sunset. Looking ahead into early next week, conditions become somewhat quieter across much of the country. there is a possibility of snow across portions of Michigan as cold air floods in behind the departing storm system. The Mississippi Valley may see some showers and isolated thunderstorm activity, and the Pacific Northwest will deal with another round of heavy rain and mountain snow arriving by Tuesday into Wednesday. The larger story for next week, however, begins to develop by midweek. Another significant storm system is expected to organize, with cold air and energy dropping down from Canada once again. This system has the potential to bring another organized round of severe weather to the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and possibly as far south as the Texas region by Thursday or Friday of next week. Forecast models are not in perfect agreement on the details of this midweek system. One model solution suggests a quicker-moving system that would limit the overall severe weather potential. Another model keeps the system slower and better organized, which would allow more time for large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes to develop across a broad area. USA Storm Center will continue to monitor both solutions and provide updates as confidence in the forecast improves. Even further out, as we approach the beginning of April, the overall pattern is signaling a potentially very active stretch of weather for the United States. A large atmospheric trough is expected to develop along the west coast, and historically this type of large-scale setup is associated with stronger and more frequent storm systems pushing across the country. If this pattern verifies, severe weather activity could increase significantly heading into early April. What we are witnessing right now is a weather pattern that is pulling in opposite directions at the same time. Record-breaking warmth is dominating the western and central portions of the country, while winter is still holding on across the northeast. When these two air masses collide, the atmosphere responds with force. That is exactly what we are tracking this week and into the weeks ahead. USA Storm Center will remain on top of every development as this pattern continues to evolve. Whether it is the ongoing record heat, Sunday's severe weather threat, or the potential for additional significant storm systems next week and into April, we will bring you the latest updates as they come in. Stay with us, stay prepared, and make sure you have a way to receive severe weather alerts